I feel like I'm Admiral Akbar looking down the barrel here and just looking at this game against the Broncos. It's a trap, Joe.
No,
It's
you
a
got to, you
trap.
got to, you got to. It's got to be better than that. It's a trap. Come on, give it to
It's
me.
a trap. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. Just go.
Do you want me to
All right, keep
redo it?
going. No, it's fine. Just.
It's a trap. Is that better?
All right, everybody, and welcome back. As always, I am your party host, Joe Rivera, and along with me, as always, is one of the preeminent ball knowers of USA Today Sports. You know him as Jacob Camenker. We know him as Vod Barajas. And Jacob, whoever out there is watching us right now have made it to the second round of the fantasy football playoffs, right? So congratulations to all those who started Travion Henderson or Trevor Lawrence or Trey McBride, who all had monster games this week. Jacob, how you feeling? Are you looking at, are you staring down the barrel of championships right now? What's going on in Jacob world?
We got shot at one championship maybe, but it's going to be a tall task. But I got to say, last week, Joe, how about JJ McCarthy? You and I had like a nice debate off camera about like you told me, how can you recommend him as a start? He's been bad this year, but 9 delivered on SNF, Joe. He had a lot of fantasy managers who were streaming quarterbacks after the Daniel Jones injury. Anyone who trusted him, he did enough. He had 3 touchdowns. He got him through, got hopefully to this round of the playoffs. So 9 delivered, Joe. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again, but it was a big moment for JJ McCarthy there.
Yeah, I might have to take back my Jamarcus McCarthy quip from last week. All respect to JJ McCarthy, who, listen, he's endured a terrible season for the most part, but showing some signs of life, which should make Vikings fans very happy. And let's make other people happy, Jacob. Let's make fantasy managers happy because we want to push them through to their championship, right? So let's talk some must starts this week. Let's start with Justin Herbert, who makes your must start list. Chargers eliminate the Chiefs this past weekend. No more Chiefs, no more Patrick Mahomes. Tough break for Chiefs fans, tough break for fantasy managers, but Justin Herbert is a must start. Why is that?
Yeah, I really like his matchup against the Cowboys. We were just talking about JJ McCarthy. McCarthy played the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. He had 250 passing yards and 3 total touchdowns. And that's the type of stat line I could see Herbert posting in this matchup because look, we all know Dallas's defense has been very good this year and they've allowed the most fantasy points per game to quarterbacks, Joe. And Justin Herbert, we know he's very talented. We know the Chargers haven't been leaning on him as much these last 5 weeks as he's kind of battled that wrist injury and they've shifted to more of a run heavy approach. But I think this is the game that he gets back in the touchdown column with a couple passing scores. And look, Chargers are playing for a lot right now. They're behind in the AFC West standings, but they could hypothetically chase down the Broncos. And if not, they're going to want to get that 5th wild card or the 5th seed in the AFC to be the top wild card there. Have a shot to play whoever wins the AFC North in all likelihood. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, there's a chance coming into this game they'll have already been eliminated from playoff contention if the Eagles win on Saturday night against the Commanders. So if the Cowboys are out, they might be a little deflated in this game. That could have Herbert having a higher ceiling in this one. So I like him. I'm backing him. I'm playing him if I have him.
Yeah, and that makes all the sense in the world, Jacob. I mean, even with the Cowboys' remade defense, like what do we expect from them moving forward, right? Like they've been minced meat all season. So why not just stick with another positive quarterback in Justin Herbert this week? Speaking of positive quarterbacks, CJ Stroud makes your must start list. I know he's a guy that we've seemingly avoided throughout the season this season, but he makes a must start this week playing against the Raiders. So why does Stroud make your must start list?
Yeah, Stroud's on here because he's one of the few quality quarterbacks that was available coming into this week in more than 50% of Yahoo fantasy leagues. So anyone looking for a Patrick Mahomes replacement, you're probably looking at Stroud as your best possible option out there. And he has a great matchup this week, Joe. He's playing against a Raiders team that's allowed 28.6 points per game over the last 5 outings. And Stroud and the Texans offense have really rounded into form recently. It is 3 starts since returning from a concussion. He's averaging 246.3 passing yards per game. It is had his second 3-touchdown game of the season against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals defense has been weak in recent weeks. But again, the Raiders aren't a very good defense either. So I think, again, the Texans are a team scrapping for one of those playoff spots, potentially have a shot to get back in their division race. But they're going to be hyper motivated for this one. And you look at the Raiders and you're just saying, man, they're playing for next to nothing at this point. So I think Stroud has a very high ceiling. If you're looking for a guy to replace Patrick Mahomes, this is your guy.
Yeah, the Raiders are playing for the tank right now, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That's about it. And listen, who I didn't ask you a question here, Jacob. Who is the biggest beneficiary of the Texans and their offense, as you mentioned, rounding into form? Is it Stroud? Is it the passing game? Is it the running game? What do we think? Who should fantasy managers look to this week?
I think it might end up being more of the passing game, if only because of the injuries at running back. We saw Woody Marks exit last week's game with an ankle injury. And look, Joe, he's gone down a lot in games this year. He's come back often. Last week he didn't. They were winning big, so he might not be in bad shape. He could play this week, but if he can't play or Nick Chubb with that rib injury can't play, you're looking at Jordan, who's interesting to me, but not necessarily a guy you're looking at your fantasy lineup and saying, yeah, I'm going to 100% lean on him. So I look at CJ Stroud. I look at Nico Collins. I look at Dalton Schultz, who's been hyper consistent throughout the year, getting targets, catches, yards at tight end. Not always a big time touchdown scorer, but at tight end, anytime you can have someone who's consistently racking up 40 to 60 yards, you take that in a heartbeat. So those are the three guys I'd be leaning on there. And if you're in a deeper league and Jaden Higgins is there, he has a lot of upside. His floor is low, but his big body, catch radius, athleticism. If the Raiders somehow shut down Nico Collins, Higgins could have a big game.
Last but not least, on your must-start list, Jacob, I like this one because the NFC South suddenly is very, very interesting. In a game where, maybe this didn't mean much in week 5, but those feisty Panthers, Chris Bumbaca's feisty Panther squad, now Jalen Coker makes your must-start list, and I love it. I love it. I love the spiciness here, Jacob. Why does Coker make your must-start list this week?
Well, first of all, let's mention that he went to college at Holy Cross, which is a stone's throw from me here in Massachusetts. Not a lot of Holy Cross Crusaders make it to the NFL, but I swear this isn't a biased pick, Joe. Coker's kind of been rounding into form lately. Over his last couple games, he's averaged 4 catches, 67 receiving yards, and he's gotten a touchdown in both games. We've seen him have great chemistry with Bryce Young dating back to last season when he was an undrafted rookie. And his matchup with the Buccaneers looks pretty good, Joe. The Bucs have allowed in 5 of their last 6 games at least 263 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Now, I know that the Panthers like to be more run heavy, but Bryce Young has shown an ability to matriculate the ball down the field, hit some of his weapons. If the Buccaneers, who are dealing with some injuries in the secondary, I know Zion McCollum just went on IR, one of their top cornerbacks. If they're dealing with injuries there and they have to focus on covering Teterow and McMillan, that could open up Coker to be a big-time sleeper and just a guy who can make plays down the field. I love his skill set. I think he's a rock-solid number 2, number 3 receiver in real life, and he's proven that he can be a good fantasy flex. So if you're looking for someone who's on the waiver wire that you need to plug into your lineup, go grab Coker, ride with him, and see what he can do.
And before we get back to the fantasy, I just want to say this too, Jacob. Like, Todd Bowles had the pretty impassioned speech after their loss on Thursday Night Football. It's all about how the Buccaneers respond here, right? So bringing it back to fantasy perspective here, how do you expect the Buccaneers offense moving forward the rest of the season? Baker Mayfield looked like an MVP top 5 candidate at some point. We know about the injuries, about everything that happened there. What's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest expectation for the Buccaneers offense the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers offense will continue to be good. They really need to get the running game going to support Mayfield because we know that Mayfield banged up his non-throwing shoulder a couple weeks ago. And it's not that he hasn't been the same type of player, but he's been a little bit more hit or miss since then. He's got a lot of great receiving weapons. Mike Evans coming back was huge for them. He just unlocks a lot in that offense. He'll open up more opportunities for Godwin and Ibuka to work underneath. So I think all of those guys are going to get their own, but I think that they really need to get Bucky Irving going to just offer Mayfield more support, set up better play action opportunities. And they have a 3-back running back rotation. I really think they need to focus more on just getting Irvin touches, getting him going, getting him ready for this potential playoff run, because without him, that offense becomes a little more one-dimensional between the tackles. And yeah, I would just like to see them give Irving some more opportunities, especially near the goal line. They gave Sean Tucker a lot of goal line touches last week. I thought that was a little bit odd. I like Tucker as much as the next guy, but you got to get your stars going, and Irving is certainly one of them.
All right, Jacob, let's get into your must-sit list now. Certain people's teams were victimized by Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense in week 15. 5 touchdown passes, Sounds to me like a must start. According to you, though, Jacob Camenker, he's a must sit this week. Why does Trevor Lawrence make your must sit list this week?
Look, sitting Lawrence coming off a 6 total touchdown game, too, the 5 passing and 1 rushing against the Jets. It might feel wrong, but Joe, I feel like I'm Admiral Akbar looking down the barrel here and just looking at this game against the Broncos. It's a trap, Joe.
No,
It's
you
a
got to,
trap.
it's got to be better than that. It's a trap. Come on, give it to
It's
me.
a trap. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. Just go.
Do you want me to
All right, keep
redo
going.
it?
No, it's fine. Just go.
It's a trap. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, it's a trap, Joe. We're talking about a guy going from playing the Jets to the Broncos. That's a big difference in the quality of defense, especially against the pass. The Broncos have only allowed 14 passing touchdowns in total this season. It's the third fewest in the NFL. And they've only surrendered multiple passing touchdowns in 4 of their 14 games this year. So, yes, the Jaguars are on a good hot streak. Yes, Trevor Lawrence is playing well, but I just think his ceiling in this game is pretty low, and so is his floor, especially if the Broncos play a really good game in this one. The other factor here, Broncos have allowed the 8th fewest rushing yards to quarterbacks. Lawrence has been running a lot more this year than we've seen in years past, but the Broncos are kind of uniquely positioned to limit him both through the air and on the ground. So I'm just not willing to trust him here. The matchup just doesn't dictate it, Joe. It's a trap. It really is.
All right, Jacob. Thank you. It's a trap. I can't help myself. Anyway, all right, Jacob. Let's head out to Pittsburgh now. We're running back Jaylen Warren makes your must-sit list. Now, I think some of this is probably dictated by Aaron Rodgers saying that he loves Kenny Gainwell, right? Yeah, I think that's some of it. But what's your reasoning for Jaylen Warren being labeled a must-sit this week?
Yeah, it's not just Aaron Rodgers saying he loves Kenneth Gainwell. It's Kenneth Gainwell has been more productive than Warren in recent weeks. And I say this as someone who really likes Jaylen Warren's physicality, running style. Like he's my type of player, Joe. But Gainwell's just looked more explosive. We saw it against the Dolphins. Gainwell handled 13 carries, turned them into 80 yards. Warren had 12 carries. He only had 33 yards. He seemed to be kind of missing the hole, maybe making the wrong cut on occasions or just not seeing the line well. So I'm thinking that given Gainwell's performance, the Steelers are just going to keep leaning more heavily on him. And they already are in the passing game, especially. Gainwell's been their top pass catching back. I think he had 7 catches last week. So Warren just doesn't have the same volume of receiving opportunities. And on the ground, if he's limited in a tough matchup against the Lions defense that's allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points per game to running backs, he could end up having a pretty bad performance. So I'm not necessarily saying you have to full out sit him if you don't have any other good options at running back, but don't expect a big time game for him. And if I was in the playoffs with the team I have Warren on, I would be considering sitting him.
All right, Jacob. And last but not least on your must-sit list week, I don't think this is too much of a surprise given that Jaden Daniels won't be playing against a pretty tough Eagles defense, but Deebo Samuel makes your must-sit list. What's your reasoning behind that?
Yeah, so Samuel, since week 6, is averaging just 38 receiving yards per game. He got off to a hot start to the season, but he's really cooled off since. He only scored twice in his last 8 games. And the Eagles have allowed just 6 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers this season. It's tied for the second fewest in the league. We've seen Samuel play second fiddle to Terry McLaurin since McLaurin's been back. I believe in the 3 games since McLaurin's returned, McLaurin has 24 targets to Samuel's 18. So it just doesn't give me a lot of faith that he's going to get the volume needed to be a high-end producer. And then with Jaden Daniels out of the lineup and Marcus Mariota coming in, that's just another thing that's going to take away his ceiling and his opportunities. So I'm not going to back him against a good defense. I'm going to look elsewhere and, type of decision. I was talking to someone about this. If I had to go between Jalen Coker and Deebo Samuel, sounds crazy, but I might go with Jalen Coker, Joe.
All right, partner. Big Take Jake is back once again and still looking to collect on that bounty now. Last week, Big Take Jake, you said the Colts would score in the single digits with old man Rivers back in the fold. That wasn't meant to be. The Colts scored 16, making you a Rudy Poo bag of malarkey once again. So, Big Take Jake, time is running out. The sun is settling over high noon. The tumbleweeds are blowing in the wrong direction. The cows are starting to wink. So Big Take Jake, What you got for us this week, partner?
All right, partner. I obviously chewed gravel a bit with Phillip Rivers looking better than expected last week. This week, my wobbling jaw will be taking a more positive approach. We're going to be backing Michael Carter because the Cardinals' running back depth chart has been a bag of nails this year. Bam Knight's season-ending injury being the latest to create turmoil there in that pecking order. It's going to open up the door for Carter to cut loose and leave the Falcons chasing 6s and 7s. Expect Carter to post 100-plus rushing and receiving yards for the first time since 2022 as the sodbuster looks to prove his worth in the desert.